Hey everyone, I'm finally back, and God willing, things are going to be not quite like they were necessarily, but they'll definitely, God willing, probably be even better than they were before, so we'll see what happens. Anyway, as I said, I was just busy with stuff and my depression really flared up, because to make a long story short, some people were making my life hell, and now hopefully the nightmare is over, so hopefully you'll be seeing more videos, and by the way, it isn't like I haven't been keeping up with stuff, because I have. Even today, for example, I saw they picked Stephen Colbert to replace David Letterman, and I'm like, well, there you go. There's one more reason not to watch CBS. And I've been keeping up with other stuff too. For example, I know that they're continuing to work on getting the Temple Mount secured, and obviously there have been issues with that because, and I gotta be careful about how I say this, for lack of a better term, the Orthodox Mohammedans, or the so-called radical Islamists, have just unfortunately decided, hey, even though the Temple Mount belongs to the Jews, we're going to go ahead and take it. And by the way, there's a scripture verse that talks about it, I think. I could be wrong, but I'm just going to double check it, because actually, okay, here I go again. I'm being unprepared. And I guess I'll get into that later, or I'll find a verse while we're talking about it. I could be wrong. That's why I want to double check when I'm doing this. And oh, okay, I remembered another, how do you call it? Another book of the Bible that's important. And let's see. I can't always get chapter and verse down, but I do get the general gist down usually, and I am able to pretty much have an idea of what the scripture says. So obviously also my little quirks are back, and it's kind of funny too, because I thought that my videos would mean absolutely nothing, or that I would just continue to get persecuted. But in terms of, for example, the black so-called Hebrews, finally my videos are showing that, okay, I wasn't just talking about some fringe group, I was talking about a group that is actually quite dangerous, and a group that a lot of people had issues with. Even the Times of Israel did a recent piece on the black so-called Hebrews, and a lot of people were upset. They were like, wait, why is the Times of Israel even covering this? And it just got a lot of people upset, and they were rightly, okay, here we go. So I was in the right book, wrong chapter. And here's the verse I was thinking of, I think. Let's see. I thought I was in the right book. Well, okay. Ay, ay, ay. I had it. And I was darn close though, so of course my quirks are back. And oh, here we go. Okay. So I was definitely in the wrong book, but I got the gist of the verse, I think. And well, okay. Oh. Well, okay, at least I got one of the verses. So it talks about, oh, here we go. So I got the right verse. It says, behold, I will make you small among the nations. You shall be greatly despised. The pride of your heart has deceived you. You who dwell in the clefts of the rock, whose habitation is high. You who say in your heart, who will bring me down to the ground? Though you ascend as high as the eagle, and though you set your nest among the stars, from there I will bring you down, says Jehovah. The thieves had come to you, if thieves had come to you, if robbers by night, oh, how they will be cut off. Would they not have stolen till they had enough. If grape gatherers had come to you, would they not have left some gleanings? Oh, how Esau shall be searched out, how his hidden treasure shall be sought after. All the men in your confederacy shall force you to the border. The men at peace with you shall deceive you and prevail against you. Those who eat your bread shall lay a trap for you. No one is aware of it. Why not in that day, says Jehovah, even destroy the wise men from Edom, and understanding from the mountains of Esau. Then you mighty men, O Teman, shall be dismayed, to the end that every one from the mountains of Esau may be cut off by slaughter. For violence against your brother Yaakov shall shame. For violence against your brother Yaakov, shame shall cover you, and you shall be cut off forever. In that day that you stood on the other side, in the day that strangers carried captive his horses, when foreigners entered his gates and cast lots for Jerusalem, even you were as one of them. But you should not have gazed on the day of your brother, in the day of his captivity, nor should you have rejoiced over the children of Yehudah in the day of their destruction, nor should you have spoken proudly in the day of their distress. And it goes on and on and on. But the verse I want to skip to says, But on Mount Zion there shall be a deliverance, and there shall be holiness. The house of Yaakov shall possess their possessions. The house of Yaakov shall be a fire, and the house of Joseph shall be a flame. But the house of Esau shall be stubble. They shall kindle them and devour them, and no survivor shall remain of the house of Esau, for Jehovah has spoken. And of course, when it talks about dwelling in the heights and what have you, it talks about where it says, You who dwell in the clefts of the rock, whose habitation is high, you who say in your heart, Who will bring me down to the ground? Though you ascend as high as the eagle, and though you set your nest among the stars, from there I will bring you down, says Jehovah. Think about that again. You who dwell in the clefts of the rock, whose habitation is high, you who say in your heart, Who will bring me down to the ground? Think about what the mosque on Temple Mount is currently called, the Dome of the Rock, and think about the way the Mohammedans have treated Israel. Jews aren't even allowed to pray on the Temple Mount, to sacrifice for Pesach. So, I mean, if the black so-called Hebrews want to talk, they have not dealt with the kind of stuff that Jews in Israel have dealt with. And it's just amazing that all you gotta do is look at the scriptures, and you can see that Ashkenazi, Sephardi, Lemba, Mizrahi, and other Jews truly are Jews. And it's just when you keep up with events and when you look at scripture and when you pay attention to what's going on, then you're able to get the picture and you're able to say, look, I might not like how things have turned out on one end or on the other end. I didn't expect that it would turn out this way. But either way, you're able to say, you know what? This is the way it is, and I can either complain about it or say whether or not I like it. You know, it is how it is, and I'm going to use whatever this is for God's glory. And even in terms of, on the other side of it, in terms of being Jewish and in terms of arguing with my family, look, I've even said this before, I'm not expecting them to convert to Judaism. I'm just saying, look, for whatever reason, God made us a Nusim. He also made us Jews, and not asking us to return to Judaism. What I'm simply saying is that even for those of us who are Messianic and who are no longer under the Old Covenant, we still have to remember this. I say then, has God cast away his people? Certainly not, for I am also an Israelite, the seed of Abraham of the tribe of Benjamin. God has not cast away his people whom he foreknew. And I've even said before, of course Paul's talking about being about Benjamin, but I've even said before myself, look, the reason that I found out that I'm Jewish, well, first of all, it's because if I was not a Christian, I wouldn't even care about my Jewish heritage. And not only that, but the only reason that I really care is, first of all, because I found out that I'm Jewish, and second, there are Jewish people who need the gospel, and for whatever reason, well, first of all, I was saved before I found out that I'm Jewish, and I just found out things that I never would have expected. Again, I'm the one who typed in Jews for Jesus for a joke, because I was sitting at the computer in the family room at the time, and I said to my sister, let's just see where this goes. So I typed it in, and then around that time as well, I had been in one of the family Christian bookstores, and they were doing a Messianic Jewish, for lack of a better term, a Messianic Jewish display, and I just couldn't look away, and I didn't expect that I'd find out that I'm Jewish, and how everything has come together has just really amazed me, and it's like, wow. And I just found out things also that I got into trouble for. Believe me, the last thing you want to do, if you're someone like me, is find out things that your family has been keeping a secret. And contrary to what some people said, it wasn't a quote-unquote conspiracy to try to hide my heritage. It's just, unfortunately, what crypto Jews do, because we're so afraid of anti-Semitism, we're so afraid of what we've had to go through, that we just hide and say, look, we want to assimilate, we just want to pretend to be something else, we just don't want to get into trouble with anybody, we just don't want to ruffle any feathers, and sometimes we end up ruffling feathers when we're trying not to ruffle feathers, or when we think we're trying not to ruffle feathers. So anyway, as they say, it's hard to be a Jew. Because for lack of a better term, when you're Jewish and you identify with your Jewishness, you get it from all ends, and especially from among your own people. And I'm not going to name names, and from what I'm guessing, I'm sure that some of them will name themselves in the comments. Now, whether or not I approve those comments is going to be another discussion, because unfortunately, I've had to approve all comments on my videos lately. Even let me read you one of the nasty comments that I got recently, which is a pretty anti-Semitic comment, so be prepared. This is going to sound like hate speech, but the guy was talking about me specifically. Quote, "She must also scrutinize who posts comments on her videos, since I can't find ours, skanky Jew slut." Of course, he was calling me a quote-unquote skanky Jew slut, and of course, his comment and his friend's comment got reported as well. So people say, oh, you're just trying to censor speech, you're just trying to this. Well, a long time ago, I allowed all comments. Now I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to allow hate speech on either end, and I'm not going to allow things that are just not true. And sometimes I've allowed things that haven't necessarily been true, but have a grain of truth in them. Like last night, if I can find it really quickly, because I ended up approving this. Oh, here we go. She said, ignore the Afrocentric below, but yes, Ashkenazim are the great causers, no shame in that. And I ended up approving that comment, and I told her point blank, I said to her, only some of us have Khazar ancestry, because, it's a common misconception that Ashkenazim are Khazars. I mean, we're not Khazars, and frankly, it was the German Jews who founded the Ashkenazi community, and even if you look at my dad's DNA results, of course it's in version 2.0 for Ancestry.com and with the autosomal DNA, but if you look at his results, you can pretty much get a track of where he went. So we went from the Middle East to Spain to Western Europe to Eastern Europe, and just amazing. It's not like something I would have expected and woke up to one day. And even one of my former friends said to me, when I told him I'm Jewish, he's like, yeah, I figured you look Jewish. Okay, I didn't expect that because, frankly, I've been told whole other stories my whole life, and there are many, every day, there are people who are finding out that they're Jewish and who've been told so many other stories, so I'm not the only one who's been told, oh, you're this, when the person really ends up being this or that. And especially with a person like me who chooses to keep faith in Jesus, despite that we're told, oh, now you found out that you're Jewish, you have to convert back to Judaism. So believe me, it's not like I'm just sitting here saying, oh, I'm just going to be Jewish for the sake of being Jewish, or I'm going to say I'm Jewish for the sake of being Jewish. Even as my dad once said when he and my granddad were getting into a fight about the weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, my dad, of all people, said to his dad, "You can't change history, Dad." And whether you like it or not, as my dad said, you can't change history. Well, that's that, and I think I've made a long enough video, and I think I've bored you all, and obviously I'm kind of back, and there are going to be new videos, God willing, and we'll see where things go. And for those of you who stay with me, thank you. I really appreciate it. And I've obviously dealt with a lot of crap lately, so thank you for those of you who stayed with me, and I really appreciate it. And there will be more blog entries and more videos and more of everything else, God willing.